The Laconia Incident. In mid-September 1942, a German U-boat U-156 sinks the converted British ocean liner HMT Laconia with just 2 torpedoes. The captain of the sub is horrified to discover that the troop transport he has sunk was carrying 18,000 Italian POWs, along with British and Polish passengers and crew. Why the captain chooses to launch an operation to rescue his surviving Italian allies is perfectly understandable, but why he also chooses to rescue the British and Polish survivors is truly a mystery. The Laconia Incident. Written by Gene Masters. Narrated by Paul Metcalf. Hello, and welcome back to another audiobook review. Now, I want to start this review, like I've been starting all the reviews lately, and tell you generally what my thoughts were. But before I can do that, I have to be completely honest and say my thoughts, positive or negative, are just that, my thoughts. And although I'm sharing them with you, I want you to keep in mind this generally is not my cup of tea. This is not generally the kind of story I would really like to listen to. I did listen to it because I don't mind reviewing audiobooks. But this book, in particular, I find confusing because, and I actually had to read some of the comments from other people who have reviewed this book, which did not clear anything up. At the very beginning of the book, it is described as this is actual facts, things that actually happened, reports and stuff of what people have said. And it even talks about other fictional works, like movies and other books that focused on fictional dramas. And now this was different because this was the facts. But this is a historical fiction. So I was left confused on, I know there's probably an actual HMT Laconia, and it was probably definitely sank by U-156. But the rest of this, I don't know how much of it was true or not. I'm not a big history buff, especially when it comes to like World War I or World War II. I know some of the general facts, but this particular thing, it doesn't include science fiction. It doesn't include like a fantasy element. So therefore, this is not generally the kind of book I would seek out. But there are people out there who would seek out a good historical book. Whether it's fiction or not fiction, I would leave that up to experts in the genre to decide, who know this type of work better than me and go, oh yeah, this guy is just telling a story, or no, this guy is reporting the truth. I don't know those facts enough to know. It all sounded realistic to me, so would I suggest going out and getting this book? If you are a fan of true historical books, or possible not true historical books, then if you just like hearing history, whether it's true or not, definitely go check this out. If you like naval books, definitely go check this out. If you like books about World War II, definitely go check this out. If history is your kind of book to read about, whether it's true or not, go check this out. Stop the video here, check it out, then come back, and let's move on. So, would I recommend it if you are a fan of history books at all? Yes. Did I enjoy it? I enjoyed listening to it. I probably will never listen to it again. I thank the author for reaching out to me and giving me the opportunity to review this book, but this was just generally not my cup of tea. But with that said, let's dive into the in-depth review now. So, starting with the cover and title. First, I want to say I'm going to give the cover and title 3 stars. Now, again, just to be clear, it's only getting 3 stars because this is my opinion coming from a different genre. Maybe this stuff is the norm for this genre of books. But if you wanted to get someone like me interested in it, this would only come up to a 3. I think the title, the Laconia incident, like they talked about at the beginning of the book, felt like that's how this is usually referred to. I think something that popped a little more could have, maybe done a little bit better. But again, I'm not familiar with the genre. Maybe that's intentional. Maybe that's going to get people interested in reading it. But I would have left the word Laconia, and I would have tried to pop in or snazz it up with another word. Something similar to incident, but like the Laconia affair or something. Something a little snazzier. As for the way the cover looks, I would have probably moved his name and stuff maybe a little bit more towards the bottom instead towards that circle. But again, maybe that's how this genre is. As for the picture, it's so small, at least on the audiobook cover, and it's the same for the paperback too. But only thing I can say I really like is that classic like newspaper footage of a ship in the scope. And I get that that's supposed to be the scope of the U-boat, but I think something like a sinking ship with 2 smoke pillars coming out of it might have been a little more interesting, especially if you would widen up that circle a little bit more so you could fit more on there. There's just a lot of black, and as I've said before in many of my reviews, there's a lot of black in a lot of books nowadays, so it really wouldn't stand out, in my opinion. But again, that is my opinion. Now moving on to the writing. And for the writing, I'm going to have to give this 5 stars. I don't know how much of this is true. I don't know how much of this was researched, but the writer must have had to do a ton of research to make this sound as believable as it did, because I'm not familiar with history, but I looked at the reviews after the fact, and even in the reviews, it was conflicting on whether this stuff was actually true or if it was purely made up fiction. And I don't know enough, but it all sounded realistic to me. I'm not going to go in depth and do the research because I'm not generally a fan of this genre, but it sounded believable. And there were a lot of numbers. And from what I do know of World War II and submarines and boats and ships, I know enough to know how believable this stuff sounded. So, yes, This author did a lot of work, put a lot of time into this book. So I have to give him 5 stars for that. Now moving on to narration. For the narration, again, I'm going to give this 5 stars. Because of the fact the narrator did an awesome job reading this. To me, it sort of sounded like it was the perfect fusion between listening to Stephen Fry and Tim Curry. If you took those two actors and you fused their voices together to make a new voice, that would be this narrator, Paul Metcalf. He is so good. I would love to hear what he can do with a fantasy or a sci-fi book, or even a murder mystery. God, I would love a good murder mystery, like a Noir or something. But yes, this narrator was really, really good. I really enjoyed his work. Now moving on to the story. And for the story, first off, this was kind of a short book. It only came in a little over 4 hours. And for me not being a fan of this genre, I'm going to have to give this story 4 stars. Mostly because there were so much facts being thrown at me that it felt like overkill. And there were a couple times where we're trying to focus on this main group or this main thing, and it's like they're throwing in names of other ships. And it's like, okay, I'm the kind of person, I have trouble following, character names at first. I'm listening to a book called The Laconia Incident, and you're throwing in like 10 other ship names. I'm gonna get confused. Especially since this isn't a genre I'm very familiar with, especially since it's not a genre that I'm going to probably listen to very often. So it was, for someone who wasn't a fan, 4 stars is really good still. I mean, like I said, there was one time where I listened to like 2.5 hours and I said, okay, I gotta take a break here because I just can't. And I had to come back to it the next day because my brain was starting to hurt from all the information. And I don't know if that might just be part of the genre. That might be part of the historical genre. Getting all these facts. In normal fantasy, we would say that is too much detail, too much telling. But maybe that's what you're supposed to do with historical books. So 4 stars is really good, though. I want to, just make a statement about that. The story itself was really good once it really got rolling, and once it kept rolling. I was interested in the main characters. I was interested in who was going to live, who was going to die. If I had any negatives, I didn't really catch it, but there was like this one dude who wanted to meet the captain of the U-boat again after the war was over, and it would have been nice to know if they ever did meet again. Maybe I missed it, but it doesn't sound like it. But yeah, it was interesting enough to keep my attention, and I did finish it within 2 days. Now moving on to the characters, and for the characters, I'm gonna have to give this 5 stars. because once you're introduced to the characters, once the characters, get rolling, it really is, though that's what's keeping me interested in the story at this point, is the characters. Because, like I said earlier, hearing all those facts, I was starting to get slightly bored with it, because this isn't my genre, but I'm like, oh, I can't stop listening to it because it's not my genre. Because I'm a reviewer and I'm going to have to review this. But once I made a connection with the characters, I really liked the characters. They became, strong characters for me. So, yeah. Unfortunately, there was no extras in this book. So, I have no extras to put in here. Now, moving on to the final score. And the final score I'm going to give this is going to be a 7 out of 10. It was paced well, I guess, for a history book. It was interesting enough. It made me think twice about what possibly could have happened during World War II. If the Germans really, at least if the German U-boat soldiers acted the way that this captain acted, which, a lot of people would probably say no, that part was very unbelievable. But I would have to say that was believable due to the fact there is that Christmas story. And for anybody who doesn't know this, I believe it was World War II. They were fighting on Christmas Day, and all the soldiers on both sides, they stopped for Christmas Day, and they actually celebrated Christmas Day together right there on the battlefield. Nobody decided, oh, well, I'm going to, stab him in the back. No, people were honorable. They said, hey, we can't go home for Christmas. Let's just, stop for now, for today. Let's celebrate today, share our food, lick our wounds. You got 24 hours, ceasefire, and then we can go back to fighting tomorrow. But for today, let's celebrate Christmas. And from what I've heard, that story is true. And if it is, then I can totally believe in this book that there were honorable soldiers even on the bad guy side. Now, was everybody honorable that worked or fought on the side of the Germans? Probably not. Most definitely not. But I believe there could be some good people. And I believe that, honestly, it's kind of a shame Hitler didn't actually, in real life, do this more often. You could be leading the biggest war going, but if you're nice to your enemy troops, they'll be like, hey, wait a minute, are we on the wrong side? This guy is being really nice. Yeah, they took out our tanks, they took out our building, but they helped rescue survivors, they treated us, they gave us food. I like these guys. They're good people. Maybe we shouldn't be fighting them. Would have made all the people second guess fighting. I mean, we didn't do that as far as I know. We might have healed them, or we might have, rescued them, if maybe, possibly. But we would have rescued them and just thrown them into jails. Maybe we would have healed them up. Wouldn't treat them very nicely, though. That's how you get people on your side, though. But, yeah, so I did enjoy this book. A 7 out of 10 ain't bad. Especially since, like I've been saying all this time, it's not in my genre. But I enjoyed it. It was a good listen. Would I listen to it again? Probably not. Not unless I was really bored of everything else I've been listening to and just needed something different. Is that a mark on this author? No, this author did a really good job. For the book I listened to, I enjoyed it. But it just wasn't enough to make me fall in love with this genre of story. So, 7 out of 10. If you would like me and you are a author who wants to have their audiobook reviewed, I will review any audiobook. Or at least I will try. There have been some that people have come out and asked if I'd review, and either they don't have a way to get me an audiobook, or they want me to listen to podcasts or something, and it's like, okay, I need an actual audiobook because I have to listen to this in my car while I'm working. So, Audible works best, but any other form of audiobook too will work. As long as you have an audiobook. So, I want to thank you all so much for watching. There will be some changes to the channel as we get close to reaching our 100 subscriber mark. I'm hoping to actually start putting out more videos. My daughter is kind of wanting to get back into doing our movie reviews. I might be making Fridays D&D movie review nights. So my normal videos will come out Monday, and then D&D videos will come out Fridays. Just have to kind of feel around, see what I like. I might put bonus D&D videos on Monday too if I have a lot backed up. Depends how much she wants to do. And then I live stream randomly. So definitely make sure you're subscribed to this channel if you want to get free movie codes and other things, or if you want me to review something that you made as an audiobook. If you're a reader, I do hope you will check this out on Amazon and Audible. Also, you can check out my book series, The Guardian of Light. It's not a true historical fiction, but it does have some historical fiction in it. So, and when I say fiction, I mean I lean way heavy more on the fiction than I do the historical. So, things like Merlin, Excalibur, Avalon, the Illuminati, stuff like that. So if you want to check out my book series, that's also available on Amazon. Books 1 through 5, and books 1 and 2 are available on Audible. I am currently still trying to find a really good narrator to finish out the book series, because I keep running into issues with other people. So, if we have any narrators in the house that are willing to work with me, reach out to me through my email and let's work on my book series. That'd be great. I'd love to get those out. And I'm always looking for a really good narrator. So even if you're an up-and-coming narrator and you want to try, your luck, get in contact with me and let's, work something out. But with that said, I hope all the rest of my viewers will at least subscribe, click the notification bell, and I will talk to you all next time. Bye.